Hello and welcome to a new little mini-series we're going to have running here on the channel to concentrate on tactics and training and little hit tips and tricks for those of you that may be new to the game or old to the game and just want to see how someone else does it. I in no way am professing myself to be a master in the game of Football Manager, but I do try hard and I get quite in depth into the game. So I thought, rather than bring it as part of the series, which is running alongside my West Ham Directors Challenge series, I thought I'd bring you this separate mini-series and we'll run through how I put together teams, how I put together tactics, what we do if stuff's going wrong and changes. So as and when that need happens in the game, I'll produce one of these little mini videos and release it as part of this playlist. So, without further ado, let's jump into the game and have a look at what's going on. I have just started as the West Ham manager here. This is the first day. And one of the first things I do when looking to build a tactic and look at the teams, could be any team you drop into, is the report you get in. So this will give you a little rundown of the best players you've got, the worst players you've got, areas of weakness. So as you can see here for West Ham, we've got Dimitri Payet. Problems playing with this guy, I tell you. But here saying that we've got 8 players that can play as a right winger, so we've got a lot of depth in that wing position. And we have 7 players who can play as left winger. So that would indicate that we're probably going to play with wingers in our formation, or need to accommodate wingers because we have so many people that play in that area. Other stuff on here, youth prospects. There are a number of talented youth prospects. It's always one to watch out for. It's good if you like bringing through the young players. Also, you obviously get them out and loan them. We have an aggressive and committed squad. Okay, that could lead to some hard tackling, so be careful around that. But that's usually good for playing against the bigger teams. As an impressive playing position, Aaron Cresswell stands out as a strong option left back. So we've got a good left back. Winston Reid is a strong centre back. Got a good centre back. Having a good left back would mean we might play 4 at the back. We'll see. I know West Ham have problems with right backs. It might be an area we need to look at. And something different. We've got a strong squad. We've got strong leaders, impressive jumpers who are able to compete aerially. So we can play some long balls, some lofted balls rather than across the floor. That would help us in Route 1 football, some more direct passing. So that's that. You have to bear those things in mind. Sometimes it's helpful just to keep a little notebook. I have my iPad that I keep to the side that I tend to jot little notes down on when I'm thinking of them. And that's the strength. So let's look at the weaknesses. Adrian is one of the few players of sufficient quality who are able to play as goalkeeper. So a goalkeeper is required. Winston Reid is one of the few players with sufficient quality who are able to play at central defender. So we've got a good central defender, but we haven't got a lot of central defenders. So that defensive area looks like one area we're going to need to spend money on and improve. You then get some money. Okay, we haven't got any money and we haven't got a lot of wages left. In this series, I actually won't be controlling the transfer activity because I'm doing the Directors Challenge. So I'm hoping, Callum Brady, if you're watching this, can you go out and get another goalie and sort us out some central defenders, please? Because I'm going to need them. But what we'll do is take all of that then into the next screen, which I usually look at, is the squad screen. Let's have a look at who we've got. Okay, welcome to the squad screen. What you will notice is I have my own selection info set up, which is where I just add a few more little bits in here than the usual that just help with the management of the squad. So you see here I've got the assistant manager recommendation. Sometimes you'll put the scouting ability and potential in there, possibly just to see if you're playing young players that they're the right players. We then got their name. We've got then their suitability for the role and duty that they will have once we get into tactics screen. Position, morale, last 5 games, these are all standard ones. Their condition and match fitness. And then we've got apps, goals, assists, average rating, standard. Goals per 90 minutes, just useful to see sometimes for strikers. How many goals are they getting per 90 minutes? Are they scoring a lot every so often? Are they not? So it gives a little bit of an indication sometimes. Key headers and key tackles, big one for defenders and midfielders. Key passes, midfielders as well, and some of the strikers. So who's really contributing to the games and the wins or the possible lack of wins can sometimes be highlighted by these stats. I will do usually a half yearly before the transfer windows come in a more detailed view, and I'll show you those selection videos, screens in another video when we get to that time. Which is just a more in-depth look at each position. So you have one set up for goalies, 1 defenders, 1 midfielders, 1 attackers, which go into these stats in a little bit more detail and enables you just to compare your players like for like. So maybe you played a sub a couple of times, but he actually, when he did come on, had a better tackle ratio and more headers than your current centre back. So you can learn some stuff by looking into this. So I will I will go through those selections in another video later on, in a more in-depth look at your team performance. Once you're a couple of games in, you need to play games to analyse performance. If you'd like, let me know in the comments. I can save some of these to the Steam Workshop, so you can just upload them and load them straight into your game. But let me know if you want that to happen, because otherwise I won't bother. It's just my selection. It's good just to play with them yourself, see what you like, see what you don't like. So from this screen, we'll just have a look who we've got. So we've got a couple of goalkeepers. Sometimes it's worth having the under-23s in there and the under-18s. It depends on the squad. Sometimes definitely look at the reserves, because you may find previous managers have dropped some players that might have just fallen out with the current manager, and it could be worth bringing them in just to have a look. Have a look how good they are. So who have we got? 2 goalies with 2.5-star recommendation now, or 3-star recommendation here for Adrian. We know that's a problem area. We want to be getting up to the 4s and 5s. Defenders, we've got a couple of defenders left and right. There's our central defenders, 3 of them. Winston Reid, you can see, is the outstanding player. We've got a couple of decent left backs, probably too many left backs in here at the moment. And you can see that real problem with right backs. We've got Arbaloa in here and no other right backs as far as I can see. Big flag, big red flag waving there. As we then move into midfielders, good amount of central midfielders and the defensive midfielders as well. That gives us some options. And then we've got, here we go. So this is where we've got all these wingers. Multiple players that can play on both sides is always great. A couple of loanies in here as well. Another thing to watch out for is the team filled with these light blue players. It's a lot of loan signings, and your team could be reliant on them, and they could just disappear at the end of the season. So always watch out for that one. And then 3 strikers, 4 if you include Caleri, which would probably indicate you go more for a 1-striker system. Maybe some defensive midfielders, midfield centres, and then you've got your wingers across the lot. So you start to piece together this tactic in your head and how you think you're going to want to play a team. Another good thing to do, if you do have the recommendation on there, is just sort by it. Who are your best players? So apparently, according to the assistant manager, Zaza, Faguli, Caleri, Lanzini, Payet, and then Edmilson Fernandez has got that potential in there. This is also useful sometimes to have their ability and potential, because you can also then filter by potential and say, okay, maybe we have a right back shortage, but do we have someone who has good potential that can slot in there, who I'm willing to let them build into the team, because I don't have the money to go and buy someone else. So that's why it's useful to sometimes use these screens with the under 23s and under 18s, depending on the setup of the squads. So all that marked up, that gives you a rough idea of, okay, the squad you've got in at the moment. Next thing to do is to look to go on and build your tactics. So I shall see you in a tactics screen. Just before we jump into tactics screen, another thing, if you actually go into the team report over here on the left hand side, you can see this squad depth, and it tells you the number of players you have in each position. Green being good, orange being slight warning, red being bad. So you can see there, and this is the game's recommendation, because obviously 2 goalies is a 3 would be green, I think, 1's red and 2's orange. So depending on the position, you can see here that defence and defensive midfield is probably where we are lacking. Very strong in this area, which is great. So we can have a look at, okay, which players do we want, and this will also help you build your tactic dependent on how many players you have in different areas. So again, if you click on the squad depth link through there, or the squad depth along the top here, you get the new squad depth screen, which just shows you all the players in all the different positions and tells you, okay, the best players. Right, you can customize this here for the formation you think you want to play, show their current ability, best roles that they should be playing for in the opinion of your assistant manager. Obviously have a look at your setup and check your assistant manager's tactical knowledge and man management, because he might not be great, but there's always a good indication. So you can run down the team and say, okay, of the 6 we've got, who have we got? Okay, we've got Zaza, who's definitely a striker. Carroll, injury prone. Caleri's not really a striker. So that's really saying you've got one good striker. You really want to go for a 1-striker formation here. We're obviously set up at 4-2-3 on wide. This is my favourite formation, I think, when I start up the game. So this will be why it's set up this way. But we can change it and see what plays. See what the different roles look like. You can see again here, looking at each of the positions, the top players in each position are roughly the same. You've got some movement about here. Lanzini, Ayew, and Dimitri Payet. Lanzini, Ayew here. And on the right, Payet again, best player on the pitch. Figuli and Antonio also coming in as the right midfielders. So we know we've got that, definitely more so in right mid than left mid, we've got that flexibility. So we definitely want wingers in there. Midfield centre, we've got got Nortveld in there. 3 decent centre mids, sorry. But could maybe do with one more in there. Possibly could look at what these guys are. We've got Lanzini who can play back here, but definitely plays better as an attacking midfielder. So do we want these guys in here, or do we want to drop them further back? Will all depend on the tactic setup. And then look at the guys along the back. Cresswell by far the best left defender. Arbeloa the only right back. Winston Reid and Ogbonna sitting in there as the centre backs. But you can see we can look to really... We've only got the 3, which is a big worry actually if someone gets injured. And then Adrian and Roundov. You can also in here include our minimum ability. That's always great. So you can put 3 stars in. And then include the under 23 squad. So there you go. We know N advances out on loan. Sarko must be sitting in the reserves team there, and this gives you the best players then if you do it this way. We know that we've got then some issues we need to sort out. We don't have enough cover in these areas, and obviously you can set your minimum ability dependent on the level of your squad. 3 is always good. Of quality players, you can see we've got the quality players are in around here, but not when you drop down. Look at that, 1 and 1. That's terrible. So this will give us an idea of how we want to play. Once you have a look here, you might say, okay, well, do we want to change this? Do we want to move him around? I actually prefer doing that in the tactics screen. So now we will actually go through the tactics screen now. So here we are, and this is where you'll have, I must have 2 tactics set up for my 2 favourites. But this is where you can then sit and play. You can pick some players, you can play with roles. So what I will do is go and pick the team based on what we saw, based on my knowledge, and then come back and run you through the player roles. Okay, so here we are. I've picked a team based on that basic formation that was laid out. I haven't really played with the role, so we can walk through some of the roles now. It is interesting. The actual screen that you pick from isn't the greatest when you click on the name. You've got the recommendation, ability, and potential. It does it based on... Oh, what's up here? Oh, we can create views for this, so that'd be good. You can play with that and create your own views, but it does it based on the player's best role. I think, so if you have it in there as a winger, it will play him as a winger, rather than if their best role is inside forward. So if you've got this role as winger, it will select him as a winger. And sometimes you like to pick just the best player for that position, and then decide the roles after. The mix between what you pick for a role and what you pick, how you pick the players. So do you pick your best players and make the roles fit them, or do you pick the roles and make your players fit the roles? Is a big question. Is there one best way to do it? I think as long as you've got a balanced team, you understand how they want to play, you can kind of do whichever way you want, but it's all about getting that balance in a squad. So let's have a look at what we've got. You can see here with the little dials, the best way, the positions that people are in may not be the best to suit them. So you can run through and have a look at just by clicking on the bottom button, have a look at the guys. So we've got Zaza here, saying that his best role is complete forward in attack. What you can also do is click on the guy, and depending on these different ones, have a look at them. So if you've got complete forward in there, what are those stats? What are they going to bring to the game? Also reading here, complete forward possesses all the technical abilities of a deep line forward, goal scoring of a poacher, and a potential, and the power of a target man. So complete forward is can adapt to all roles essentially, which is great because you don't have to think about changing your passing style depending on the striker you've got in there. Again, having on attack or support will depend on what you do with these wingers and stuff further down. Dimitri Payet, we know we want him to cut inside his inside forward. He's not suited to a winger. He doesn't like playing it, and if you look at the stats, that should be reflected. Inside forward. So he's got that 15 finishing, 15 first touch, long shots, passing, technique. He's got the whole lot. Wingers would strip him down, doesn't have him coming inside and taking shots, and would really waste that 15 stat he's got there as an inside forward. Also, that advanced playmaker role, he could come in here and play that. But again, you would be missing out on the dribbling and the crossing. So really, we want him out there as an inside forward. On support, let's have a look at attack. Attack, he doesn't cross as much. It comes in. This is really up to the team structure to decide then. So if we have Zaza on attack and we have the wingers on support, we might have another attacker in the middle here and really get a balance of defence and support. But you need to play the game to understand, play a couple of games, get the team used to it before you start tweaking those little things here and there. So Antonio on the other side will be a winger on support again. So his job is to get that ball in. I would have thought he'd have better stats as an inside forward, but it doesn't show on here. So he's finishing at 11. It's not too bad. He's got the acceleration, so we want him just to come in and beat. If we went on to attack, yeah, brings in flair, stuff that isn't the highest for him. That heading stat would be brilliant. We want him to get inside. So we'll put it on support and have these guys coming inside and helping out where need be, which means we probably want someone through here as an attacking midfielder. I've decided on the 4-1-2-2-1, is that what they want to call it, with defence midfielder, because we have the defensive mid, but knowing that I need to get Lanzini possibly in the team and my central midfielders aren't the best, I could go to a 4-2-3-1, and I might train both, because I know in this attacking midfield role I've got Lanzini, who's one of the best players we've got in at the club, can play in here as an advanced playmaker on attack, almost as it could be a false 9. So when these two are supporting and crossing in, I've got this guy floating around and also Payet coming in, so I really want to push Lanzini maybe over slightly. So Payet's got a lot of room to play in. Antonio's going to do some crossing and Lanzini's going to be attacking in and around Zaza. Maybe move Zaza to the left. It took me a long time to realise that you don't have to be symmetrical with your formations. So this is where that players where they need to play, understand what they're going to be doing. Because although that for me looks horrible because I want it nice symmetrical formation, you don't have to have a symmetrical formation. So you can tinker and play with these guys depending on what they're going to do, and you'll see that in the game. And I'll run through some gameplay, some extended highlights game, which will not be included as part of the West Ham Director Series, where we look at, okay, stopping the game, looking at where they are and saying, well, actually, you can see here, you've got Lanzini and Zaza too close. We need to move them out slightly. You've got Payet who keeps running into trouble, so let's use Zaza to pull the people away. And you just have to sort of sit and play and try. All if you want to, obviously. Sometimes you can just sit and hope, but it's always nice when you make those changes, you see the results, and you're like, oh yeah, I did that, I sorted that out. So I'll set this up now. I've got Lanzini in here. Looking then again at our central midfielders, what we want to do in here with these guys. We know we're going to have fairly attacking, and these guys are going to stay forward. So we want some defensive duties in here. We've got ball mid midfielder. I love that as a role. On support, that's a good one for the guys to have. Deep line playmaker. On defend, also a good one. So Coyote we expect to run around here, picking up the ball and laying off straight away as a ball in midfielder. And deep line playmaker, Obiang's going to pick it up from the defence and try and lay it straight forward to your advanced playmaker or your wingers. So we don't want them going too far forward because we've already got 4 people in attack. We probably want to keep them quite steady. Looking at the fullbacks, this is always a fun one. We can play around with these. I like to have fullbacks on support. Cresswell can play wingback. Byron, oh, he can play wingback as well. So we'll have a look at. We might maybe play them as wingbacks, so they get further forward, and we have the defensive guys in here dropping back. So we play with a kind of 4 stock, but we'll see how that works out. It may be that we change that for certain teams, depending on how they line up. If they line up very narrow, we can let them go wild. If we get lined up against wingers, we probably want our wing backs marking up the wingers to stop the crosses coming in. So there we go. That's pretty much the setup. We could have some ball playing defenders in there. Oh, Reed is a very good defensive centre back. So yeah, win the ball and get rid of it straight away. So we might play around with those. I think we'll probably leave them as central defenders. And that's the team selection. That's how I approach the team selection. You've obviously then got team instructions. Sometimes it's best to leave these for the game. So play with, unless it's something you specifically want to do, a type of style you want to play. So I do a lot of the time like to close down more and play more direct passing. We know that we've got the aerial threat, so more direct, quicker passing. If you have tempo, I tend to keep width. It depends on who you're playing against. You can use these. You may later on bring more of them in. If you've got fast defenders, sometimes it's bring the defensive line forward. If you've got slower defenders, drop it back, depending on how many players they're playing. So use these within the game to change your tactics slightly to hopefully overcome what you see from the attackers. Especially again here with the build up. How do you want the build up play? So I might put those 2 on for now. I like teams to close down and a bit more direct passing. So we play slightly quicker. Here you have your familiarity. So this is where you've selected different formations, the mentalities, the passing styles. They will be awkward. What you will do is you can train a couple. If you're a professional club, definitely train all 3. If you're not, if you're a lower league manager, you probably want to stick to one, get them used to it before you start trying more out. And as long as they're only slight changes from each other, so if we have 4-2-3-1s, or we have slightly different wing backs, they'll learn that really quickly because it's the same as the one they've had before, so they're used to that. So you train them on familiarity levels. Okay, so in terms of instructions and setup for tactics, I think we'll leave that there. As a good little introduction, I think, to tactics. Let me know what you think is the things that you do differently, or if there's something you want me to cover in a bit more detail, let me know and I will cover that next time. But thank you very much now for stopping by. Please like if you've enjoyed the video, comment if you have something you want to know about, subscribe if you're new. Also go and check out the Director's Challenge on the other playlist on the same channel to see how we're getting on. Well, we can't actually change these things that we've highlighted, we just have to live with with Karen Brady making our decisions for us. But thank you very much for stopping by. Always appreciate the views. I will catch you next time. Bye bye.